Lisa G is here. She's got some headlines for us from the Howard 100 newsroom. Lisa? Hey, Lisa.
Is there anything? Every time I hear that theme song, I think of the huge penis thing. Is there anything on you that's huge that we?
Yes, my breasts. Come on.
No. Well. No.
Do you want us to say Lisa has huge breasts?
Yeah. Compared to Miss Howard TV.
You would never get implants?
No.
Those would be smoking.
I still can't get over that you thought her breasts were nice.
I liked it. What can I tell you?
They didn't look fake to you?
Yeah.
Well, what are you talking about?
Sure they did. They looked as fake as they could be.
They were beautiful, fake
They were like two different sizes.
I
liked it. I don't know.
Do you think
it's kind of hot when a chick doesn't have a perfect breast job?
Do you think a breast job? Let me ask you this seriously. Do you think a breast job means that for some reason you couldn't possibly be an intellectual? Or
No.
Well, what's your problem with it?
Health.
Just yesterday, it looked so phony to me.
Well, you wouldn't get huge ones. You would get. Look, she's so sexy.
What's phony about that?
I see that. I don't get.
But you don't have to go that big. I mean, if you really wanted implants, you would get. I don't know what you are.
That just looks
you look like you're about a B. You'd go up to a small C.
Howard, do you remember someone had they had a picture? I don't know if they still have it or not. There was a picture of Lisa G as a real doll,
right,
with a bigger set of breasts. And I've got to say, I've never looked at Lisa G in any sort of prurient way before, but she was hot.
It says to me, I care. I look hot for guys, and I'm up for fun. That's what it says to me. When I see those two big pontoons, I go, "There's a girl who really just wants to have fun."
Yeah. So what you think? You think it means they're slutty?
No, not at all.
She just doesn't think they look
the
good.
male brain. That part I don't get the way you're describing. I look
But
at
if
them
you
and I
went
go,
and got implants, you wouldn't get those. You would get
right. But you thought they
appropriate.
were good looking.
Now, there you
There
are.
you go.
That's you as the real doll.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
I gotta say,
It does look good.
they're smoking.
You got to admit, you think that's sexy.
Yeah,
don't you?
that definitely is. But they don't look like glued-on basketballs.
Well, they kind of do. Why don't we just glue basketballs to your chest and see if we like that?
I do. I
As
think
a first step.
I agree. That I got to admit, when I first saw, like, when they first came out, breast implants, I was like, that means that girl's just like a slutty, stupid person. But now,
They just look good.
There's different. I think it's different. I think you should do it.
All right, what do you have, Lisa? It's okay. We like you just the way you are.
Thank you. Well,
Speak for yourself.
I spoke.
Go ahead. You spoke to someone.
Yes, Artie's sister, Stacy.
Oh.
An
Oh,
exclusive
my God.
interview with her.
Exclusive.
You can't get Stacy.
No one else
you
wanted.
get her.
Exclusive.
She's very sought after.
Very sought after interview. Yes. Why did you call Stacy and bother her?
Well, I didn't bother her. I just felt it was an important part to Artie's story.
Artie's
you
story
read his
about-
book.
Oh,
Why don't
okay.
you dig
I
up
haven't.
my-
You know what? I haven't read Artie's book. I'm embarrassed to say.
Well, I can tell.
started it.
I got a
when
I
was on the
vacation.
could
show.
tell because there's one chapter in there that if you had read it, you'd be talking about it.
Well,
by
let's
now.
talk about it. What is it? What is the big secret?
Why don't you dig up my father's bones and interview him?
Can we do that?
Now that
Actually,
would be an
Langford's handling that.
exclusive.
Actually, it's ashes.
Oh.
What
But-
chapter are you talking about, Lisa? I could talk about anything in the book because I wrote the book.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
You want me to say it, or do you want to?
You could say it.
You're the
What
news-
yeah, let's hear
you're
what
the
you
Did he
news
try to
department.
commit suicide?
Oh my God!
Who did?
Artie.
Doesn't he do that like every day?
Cut that out.
The heroin?
All right, forget it.
Bleep that.
It's ongoing.
When doesn't he try to commit suicide? Look, he's eating himself to death.
Nah, I mean this was a formal attempt.
I mean, Artie committed suicide? Oh, my goodness.
There's a difference between slowly doing it.
What did you do? What were you trying to do, my
Oh my
friend?
God.
What do you got there? What did you do?
I wasn't. Can I read another Ashley Madison spot? I don't think I was ready to go. No, when I was at Mad TV, I was all coked up, and I ran out of coke, which sucks.
Life sucks when you run out of coke and you're into it.
Right, and I was out of my mind, and I wrote a note to my mother and sister. It was a full.
Oh, you did the whole note.
Full
Then you were
blown,
for real.
Absolutely for real.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean for real.
Well, what happened was.
Cry for help?
Always.
Yeah, well, what I did was I had these Restorol sleeping tablets, 30 milligrams. They were pretty strong. And, you took one for 12 hours. And I took about 25 of them.
That's serious.
Okay. Then I had a whole bottle of Excedrin PM. I took the whole bottle, whatever the fuck is in a bottle.
Jesus.
And then I had a half.
Swallowed all that.
Yes, and I had a half a bottle of Jack Daniels left.
Oh.
And I just swigged it.
And then what did you do?
I figured that would do the trick.
On you? I don't know.
Right. So I.
You're talking about.
From Artie, I'm taking triple that. But go ahead.
And the note was, I remember the note verbatim because it wasn't that long. And
Yeah, what'd you say in the note?
the note was to my mother and sister. And it said, Ma and Stace. I said, I'm sorry about this, but I can't deal with life for some reason.
Right.
None of this is your fault. Do me a favor and keep on living. Maybe I'll see you again someday. And I signed my name.
Oh,
I
that's heavy.
I left it there on a big legal pad, and then
Can I ask you a question
I
about
remember I changed my shorts.
Wait a minute.
I changed my shorts.
Yeah.
Because their mom always says, be wearing clean shorts.
Well, in a weird way,
Why'd you change your shirts? Because when you would be found, you wanted to be like...
I had been up all weekend just doing coke, and I had the same like sweatpants on.
cleaned up.
I'd
Now you clean up. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to clean up.
I put on a pair of these green sweatpants shorts that I thought were very comfortable.
Right.
And so that was it. Once I did all that,
Like for your journey, like hey.
Yeah.
he wanted to be clean.
Well, here's what happened. I had to go to Friday night. We did a show at Mad TV. Okay,
Right.
We did a taping. At about midnight. We got done with the taping, and everybody else would go to this bar and have like a party. I was trying to stay on the wagon, and I was afraid to go out because I got diagnosed with this ulcer that I had to get rid of. So I would just go isolate myself in this apartment after work every day. And I had a coke dealer, the same guy who met me for the pig thing. And I went to the Cinerama Dome parking lot on Sunset Boulevard. It's a big movie theater there. And I was right by where we shot Mad TV. And I bought 2 8-balls from the guy. And I went right to my apartment. I got a gallon of Jack Daniels. And I went right to this Oakwood Apartments where I lived. And I just locked myself in there. Saturday morning, I got a delivery from Mad TV of all the new sketches we had to read Monday morning. And you had to read about 14 sketches. I was in 11 of the sketches, and in 8 of them I had to do, you had to do impressions. The research department dropped me off tapes of fucking Newt Gingrich and all these other people you had to try to fucking do the voice of.
I'd kill myself.
So those table reads Monday, you had to be prepared because you had to sell it for the network, otherwise the writers would get mad. So I put that down, and I said, fuck it, I'll get to this whenever, and I just started doing coke. I was up all weekend, and I ran out of the coke at about...
Not a model employee.
I ran out of coke at about 4 a.m.
This is him staying away from the party so he doesn't fall off the wagon.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I couldn't have anybody see me doing it.
Right. We don't want that.
Oh, my goodness.
So at about 4 a.m.
Stayed away from the party.
it'd be so
The party,
much
you might have been better off.
You're the first 2 people who have laughed a lot for this story.
I have another question I don't want to forget.
All right.
Before you go on, can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
When you write a suicide note, do you do a rewrite? In other words, do you ever sit there and go,
That's
this
not
one's
any
no
good.
good?
I
Tear
threw
it
out
up.
3 versions.
You did?
I did.
Did you put that in your book?
I thought one of them sounded too sappy.
You didn't want to be judged. Isn't it weird? You're killing yourself and yet
How
you're
are
worried.
they going to take this?
One I thought was too long. I figured my mother going, we got to get...
You're boring everyone.
I got to get to the funeral parlor.
Right. How long was it? A couple pages?
Well, what I just said to you was the entire note.
Oh.
So it was half a... I'm not looking to waste nobody's time.
You're always thoughtful.
Yeah. So I put this enormous script packet down. It looked like the fucking Iliad. And I put in a videotape while I was doing the coke of Newt Gingrich and some State of the Union. I'm like, what the fuck am I trying to do here? I had done them before and it was lame. I said, all of a sudden I'm going to be great at Newt Gingrich.
Right.
So
Improved.
yeah. So I
All right, go ahead. So
I took all that stuff. I had the note. I took all that stuff. I changed, and what set me off was I had to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 4 a.m. I ran out of coke, and I was in a panic because I tried to preserve the coke so I'd have some to take to work to get through the fucking table read, which I had done before. So.
Boy, Mad TV really sucks.
I mean, it
drives people crazy.
Thank God that show's canceled.
Right. Source of most of your problems.
How many others suffered like this?
Okay, so I
whole crew was probably committing suicide.
well,
would have been like one of those Jonestown massacre things, where you all take Kool-Aid together.
Fox had the idea to do 8 shows in a row without taking a commercial break to get one up on Saturday Night Live. It was actually a smart thing because the audience they took away in that first 8 weeks, they said, is what kept it the fuck on. Like,
right.
You know. So everybody worked like 18-hour days. So I ran out of the coke and I lost my mind, and I did this real quick. So now I sit down on the couch of this place, and I start to get this crazy sort of morbid curiosity of like, God, you know, I'm going to find out what happens when you die. This is like I saw
taking your pills. You're all set.
I sat down and I said, well, what? This is going to be great. Like in a way, I was excited. You know, all these people throughout history. Like, what happens when you die? You know,
this is going to be your journey.
Yeah, you just, you know, am I going to see my father? Am I going to meet Babe Ruth? Am I going to meet Hitler? Where am I going?
Sad thing is, you're not going anywhere.
Right, exactly. Am I going to just get eaten by worms or whatever? Right. So the drugs start to kick in. I get a little high, and I remember the last thing I remembered was I looked at my arm, and my arm started shaking really crazy, uncontrollably, and I was like getting a little high, and then I guess I passed out. The next thing I remember is I was in my friend David Herman's car. He had a convertible. He was a kid who was on the show with me, and we were on our way to St. Joe's Hospital in Burbank, and I was all, you know, blurry and everything, and I can remember him saying, Artie, it's fine now, it's over, you can go back to New York, everything's okay, you're going to be all right. And then I didn't know, and then I went back to being passed out, I guess. The next thing I remember is a nurse putting a catheter in me at St. Joe's.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, right.
That's to wire up your penis.
Right, at intensive care. Now,
why no ambulance? What happened?
Well,
I want to know, how did they find you?
Here's what happened. I was never late, ever. For the entire time I was there.
Always loyal.
I was never late.
Right.
And like everybody else was at least a little late sometimes. I was always there, and I always knew my lines. I was always ready. And that saved my life because there were 2 stage managers that they employed. The first AD was this guy, Josh Berger, really good guy. And the third AD was this girl, Tara, beautiful girl. Like I had a crush on her. She was one of the most stunning, beautiful chicks I ever met, and she was very nice. And the third assistant director's job was to wrangle the cast. Like it's her job to get you there on time.
Right.
They come to your dressing room and everything. So Tara goes up to my dressing room. I'm not there. When I'm 15 minutes late, she goes to the guy, Josh. Now, this is a story I was told.
Right.
Because I don't remember it.
You were on your journey.
She says to Josh.
He was checking out death.
You're waiting to meet Hitler.
You know what's fucked up? I didn't even have one of those things where I was dead for 10 minutes and saw light. Like I wish I didn't have any light.
Passed out.
Right, I passed out.
No good stories.
So they say, this is odd. He's not answering his phone. And I didn't have a cell phone at the time. That was in the infancy of cell phones. I didn't have one. So she says, I'm worried about it. So she convinced Josh to go to my apartment.
Lucky.
So they drive to my apartment. They're knocking on my door. They say I answered the door. They say I was like stumbling, and I somehow. Wow. They immediately come in. They see the pills. They see the note. They don't know what to do. They called my friend David Herman, was my best friend.
Hollywood's so weird. Like they don't know what to do. Like,
they also called 911.
Right. Okay.
So
they expected him to be passed out from booze or something. Right. They didn't expect to see a suicide.
Right. When they saw that, they said,
happened to me. I'd call the Olsen twins.
I don't know what happened. They were only like 6 years old. At the time.
You couldn't call them at that point. Yeah. Someone like the Olsen twins.
I don't know what they called first, but they did call 911 and they called David.
Right.
David rushed there, and he was there before the ambulance. And he took the suicide note. He said, well, let's see what Artie wants to do about this, because they were trying to worry if I was going to be fired. They didn't know what to do.
Right. They were trying to protect
They were trying to be friends, right? So David took the suicide note and put it away. So no sort of authorities ever saw that. He then put me in his car and drove me as fast as he could to St. Joe's. He beat the ambulance, and that's how I got there.
Wow.
So I woke up, and when they put the catheter in me, and all these people were around me, I saw my friends. I saw the director, this guy, John Blanchard, was...
So all those pills didn't even kill you?
Didn't kill me.
Wow.
In
fact, you probably would have just
Did you
slept
get
it
a
off.
good night's sleep? Yeah, that's the...
I mean, you probably would have just woken up at some point, don't you think? I mean, there was
I don't, well, maybe a doctor could say maybe it eventually would have killed me. I don't know. I don't know.
How long had you been? How long had you been since you'd taken the pills?
I took the pills at about
4 a.m. You said, right?
Well, it was 4 a.m. when I decided to do this. I waited a couple hours, but I probably took them at about 7-ish or something.
Oh my God! So you'd only had them in your system like 2 hours.
an hour.
I'm sorry to bug you, right?
She's disappointed.
So
This was no attempt. He knew he'd be late.
Well, they do say that.
I assure you, I wanted to be dead.
Were you
Now I wish I
disappointed?
was dead again.
Were you disappointed when you woke up in the hospital?
I was like, fuck, I'm still here.
Were you?
And I didn't see anything.
Yeah, and I didn't see any light.
But were you really angry that they had saved you?
No, I was. It started an incredible depression. Like, of course, insanely, So they put the catheter in me, and then I don't remember anything. I guess I passed out again. I woke up again at about 4 o'clock the next morning, alone in intensive care at St. Joe's, with this enormous black woman reading the Bible next to me.
Did you ever think maybe you did die and this is?
Yeah, I was going to
the
say,
other
do you
side?
think this was real or
Like
was
when
this?
Yes.
when you die, an enormous black woman reads to
Howard,
you?
you have no
Read the Bible
idea. I've told shrinks, I'm like, maybe I died, and because ever since then, I'm telling you, ever since then, Norm called me for dirty work. Dirty work led to a sitcom. The sitcom and Norm led to you.
Right.
Like
You went to heaven. What was your dream? To get on the Howard Stern show, to be with Norm, to be in the movies?
You think you're fucking
So
around
you
right
might
now?
be. I want to tell you something.
I think I'm in heaven.
You are.
You died.
I never wanted to tell you. We're all dead.
You're God.
Yeah,
This is
I'm
not
God.
real at all. That's why we're laughing.
Oh, thank you, Robin. That explains it.
And you know who Fred is? Fred's Fred.
I always knew Fred would be Fred. Who the fuck is Benji?
Nobody.
No, so I'm telling you, man, after I got on this show, I said that to her. I've tried to go to shrink.
Right.
I said, I'm like really fucking convinced sometimes when I really think about it that I died. And
I died 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
Now Artie's confused. He's like, well, maybe he's for real.
Yeah, so...
So anyway,
I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Right.
So
How would you know?
Just walk in front of a car, you'll know.
So so this woman's reading to me, and she sees me wake up, and she goes, "How are you, baby?" It was like,
Baby.
I said, how you doing, baby? I said, I'm okay. She goes, "Why are you in here?" I said I tried to kill myself. And she goes, "What?" I said, "I tried to kill myself." And she said, "Oh, you can't do that, baby. You go right to hell if you do that." She said, "Life is a gift. God doesn't want you to take that gift away. You can't do that." That looks like
She's reading to you.
If it's a gift, you get to do anything you want with
That's some gift.
Indian
Look
giver.
at her gift. She gets to read to Artie in the
it.
hospital.
Really?
So then I just, that even depressed me even more, and I went back to sleep. The next day, my mother shows up. They put my mother on a plane.
That's the sad.
Great.
It was the first time my mother was ever in L.A.
And you're probably
Great.
like, oh, no.
My sister
Now
left.
she's going to see the Hollywood sign and,
Yeah, right.
and you.
My sister left her desk at her job. My mother was a secretary. She left. They get on a plane, and my mother, God bless her, she kept her composure. She walked in there. David Herman gave her the note and said, "Look, this is what was there." And so they left it up to me if I wanted to tell like a counselor that it was suicide.
Right.
My mother thought it was best to tell the doctors that was the case, so they immediately they came in and strapped me down and took me to the fucking Cedars-Sinai psych ward. As soon
Good
as they
decision.
found that it was a suicide. Yeah, so my mother and sister are trying to drive this ambulance. These two ambulance drivers were drinking Old Granddad while they were driving the ambulance. I swear to God.
Everybody's nuts.
And they're like,
They didn't
fucking-
give you
This
any?
is like a movie.
they're like swinging it. I'm strapped down in the back. I'm going from side to side. My mother and sister are trying to follow the fucking ambulance to Cedars-Sinai. They get there. They bring me up to the psych ward. They interview me. They put me in. And this is when...
Hey, can I ask you a question? When you were in the psych ward, did they ever diagnose you as like bipolar or something like that? Because you kind of sound...
They diagnosed me as being clinically depressed. That was
Right.
the diagnosis.
And they
But not-
put you on a bunch of drugs, right?
They put me on, the first thing they put me on was lithium, and then this thing Depakote, before I got to a shrink who prescribed
Is that considered a mental illness?
Yes.
You're
absolutely.
mentally ill, right?
I'm considered mentally ill.
Right, okay.
Society thinks I'm mentally ill.
Right.
But wait a minute. It's a temporary illness, this depression.
They say it's curable.
yeah, it's not like schizophrenia.
He's very close to being
I'm not
cured.
schizophrenic.
You're not schizophrenic, you're not bipolar, but you're depressive.
That's what they said.
You're a depressed
yes,
person.
I'm more prone to depression.
Okay.
So so this woman says to me, now I'm checking into Cedars-Sinai psych ward probably about midnight.
Right.
My mother and sister stay all night in the waiting room, and then they went over to Jerry's Deli. My mother's classic. She goes, my mother went and got me like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, an enormous sandwich. She goes, I think this will cheer you up. Like the next morning, that's what we ate. But, and it did cheer me up.
Right.
But the woman says to me when I'm checking in, okay, listen, here's the policy. You're going to have a room. There's no one in the room right now. But there's a lot of people on this floor who are patients. You can't lock your door. There's nothing sharp in the room. There's no mirror. Don't be looking for any of that. The orderlies walk by the room every once in a while.
Right.
And they check to see if you're okay. There are a couple of people who are here like almost for life, and we know they're harmless, and they wander around sometimes. Sometimes they wander into your room. Just know if there's another patient in your room, he's harmless. His name, I said, well, who is this guy? He said, there's a guy who wanders around. He's an older gentleman. He's harmless. His name is Gus.
Gus.
She said, if Gus walks into your room, don't be scared. Just say hi to Gus, and he'll say hi to you, and he'll leave. So I'm like, all right.
What
whatever.
a life.
Right. It's just, so
I wonder, what do you see when you walk into a mental ward?
You see, it's me and Winona Ryder. So they send me into a room. I get my own room, and I sit there, and there's not a mirror, but there's like this metal wall that has all these scratchings on it and words of all these other nuts that were there, like stuff like I want to kill Madonna.
The nutty people love to write.
Well,
right, they're always writing.
Like there was like one said I
you're mentally ill if you love to write.
Yeah.
One said I want to kill Madonna.
Yeah.
And I said the next day in group, I said, did you tell Madonna about the last guy that was in here?
There's a threat on
They
her
said
life.
one every 4 patients wants to kill Madonna.
What did you write? Kill all posers?
I didn't write anything. I should have. So about 5 in the morning.
Should have written down, I want another bacon, egg, and cheese.
Well, about 5 in the morning, sure enough, I can't sleep. Gus walks in.
Oh, okay.
And he goes, you're new. And I said, yeah, I'm new, Gus. He goes, how are you? I said, I'm in bad shape. And he sat down on the other bed, and I probably had the best conversation I ever had in L.A.
Gus probably needs to be let go.
I talked to Gus for about an hour, and he goes...
he's whacked out as like Beetlejuice? Or?
Yeah, well, he knew the number for suicide. I guess there's some sort of number. He goes, what'd you do, a 138 or something like that? And I said, what does that mean? He goes, you tried to commit suicide. And he tells me about how his family fucked him over, and quite frankly, I saw his side of things.
Right.
It was very peaceful talking to Gus, and I said goodbye to Gus when I left. The next day, I went to court, and the judge released me to New Jersey. This is when the 2 guys who ran the show, Adam and Fax, they were the 2 guys who created the show. They treated me like a kid of theirs. They said, you go get better, you'll have a job here forever. And so Adam and Fax, if you're listening, I know they're big Stern fans. Thank you. But John Blanchard, the director, did the same thing. David Ehrman, Nicole Sullivan, Orlando Jones, my roommate eventually, they all saved my fucking life because they were so understanding about it. But this is when Quincy Jones did something that was so unbelievable. He produced the show. So I had met him 3 times, once at the screen test, which was nerve-wracking. And he found me before I went to New Jersey, and he gave me a big fucking hug. And he said, look, man, he goes, and he did that jazz talk. He's one of the few guys that can get away with that.
Right.
He goes, listen, man, he goes, you's a funny cat, man. I like you, you know.
You's a funny cat.
He goes, you's a funny cat. He goes,
Quincy Jones gets some grammar lessons.
Well, you know, it's
I
like
think he knows the real grammar.
Right,
He just doesn't use
He's
it.
like Oprah. He wants to be cool. Yeah.
I think he is cool.
Yeah.
So he said, this was so surreal what he was saying to me. He goes, you know what? Drugs is fucked up, man, and they fucked up a lot of people. I know a lot of people in music. The drugs, it takes their lives. He goes, he said, Miles Davis, it took him years to get off that shit, you know. And he goes, I toured with Billy Eckstein when I was a kid, and a lot of people in the band was into that shit. But you know, creative people like that shit. You got to get that out of your head, and you just got to do your work. And he goes, when you come back here, you're gonna have a job. Anybody fucks you, you call me. And he gave me a big hug.
Right.
So I left. I told my mother.
Seems like the drugs made you closer to Quincy.
Well, in a way,
Yeah, actually got you an audience.
Yeah.
Well, he's the guy. Well, I won't say what he said about something, but he wrote the Sanford and Son theme song.
Right.
Which this is the greatest story he ever told me. He said Red Fox. He said Red Fox called me up and said he did a show about garbage. And I said, what is it about? He goes, about a garbage man. He said, I need a theme song. So I sat down, and he goes, I wrote that song in about 20 minutes. And I started to sing, it's the greatest theme song ever.
Right.
So that's the kind of sort of genius you're dealing with. And he gave me a hug, and I told him my mother was crying. She wrote him a letter, and I'm saying to myself, 3 years ago, I was a longshoreman. And now Quincy Jones is comparing me to Miles Davis. In a conversation, I did my time at the rehab. I came back in January, and I saw Quincy again at this other thing. He flew me.
So what did they do? Did they fire you from MTV or you quit?
Well, this is the first season. After
that, so he was still with them.
After that, they let me come back. I went to rehab. So
did you go to Jersey for rehab?
I went to Jersey for rehab. I went through rehab, and I got on this. I tried Zoloft. I tried this other shit. This antidepressant Paxil seemed to work for me. After 4 weeks, I'm telling you, man,
it felt better.
Something snapped in my head that one day I woke up like it was a wet blanket on me. I couldn't even get up for 4 weeks. One day I woke up and I felt like I could build a house. I told my mother, I said, I don't know. I feel great. I'm back, I think, And I called the producers. They said, all right, if you feel all right. And I flew back in January. The second half of that first season, I've never done better work like in my life on TV.
Wow.
I was writing sketches.
So maybe you ought to go back on Paxil.
Maybe that's the end.
Well, after I got back in the groove, I stopped taking it because I don't want to be on a pill the rest of my life. I really don't.
Why would you want to feel good?
But no. But
you say the funniest things.
I don't want to be on a pill.
I don't want to be on a pill. I want to take heroin.
No. But the Paxil, you can't really fuck.
You don't need to fuck.
Hey, after you get some of that Viagra, won't that work?
So here's
after you try to kill yourself, how long do you wait till you start masturbating again?
I tried immediately. Me and Gus tried to do it together. So the end is kind of funny about how I went, but not funny, but interesting. So they tell me I can come back because they had to square it with the head of Fox and everything, and they tell me I can come back. So I'm still in New York. Quincy Jones was producing the Oscars that year, and to get ratings, they wanted big stars because, going up against Saturday Night Live, it's like even if the sketches are just as good, Tom Hanks is hosting. You're not gonna. So Whoopi Goldberg was hosting
Mad TV,
the Oscars.
Oh, the Oscars.
So Quincy, as a favor, said, "Would you do a sketch on the show?" She said yes. No one else was in New York. I was the only one left in New York, so she was shooting promos for the Oscars in New York. They said, "We're going to write a sketch. We're going to send the producer out there. Would Artie be in the sketch with her?" So I said, "Okay." I go there the day before I'm supposed to fly back to L.A. I do this ridiculously awful sketch with Whoopi Goldberg. She wanted to do a takeoff of All About Eve, like from 50 years ago, and I had to play a psychopath that was stalking her. It was just bad, but we left it in there because
she wrote it.
No, she thought of the concept for it, and we told her, we do film parodies. The film she picks is All About Eve from 1952.
Nobody even knows that.
Right, exactly.
Great film.
Right, it is. But I mean, they were thinking, well, does she see Lethal Weapon?
Right, yeah, she's seen something current.
So I go there, and Quincy Jones is at this this shoot, and he sees me there, and he comes up and he gives me. It's the first time he sees me since he saw me. He gives me a big hug, and he goes, "Hey man, I've been thinking about you. How you doing?" I said, "I'm better. I feel good." He goes, "I was down in Miami for Christmas, and I was with Nicholson. I was telling Nicholson about you, man. He's thinking about you too." I said, "Jack Nicholson?" He said, "Yeah."
He's thinking about you.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
They're all thinking about Artie.
So he goes, "How you getting to LA tomorrow?" I said, "I got a plane ticket. I'm flying." He goes, "Fuck that, cancel that. We got the wings, man." I said, "What do you?" He goes, "We got the wings. We got the jet from Warner."
Do you ever want to shake him and go, "Can you just talk normal so I know what you're talking about?" I got the wings.
Well, maybe I'm doing it. Well, I don't know.
All get on the same page.
Yeah. So he goes, "We got the wings." That's what he said. So I said, "Sure, I'd love to come." We did the awful sketch. He said, "Be at the Pierre tomorrow at noon, and I'll take you out to the plane." So my buddy Deej drove me to the Pierre in New York, and I'm sitting in the lobby and go, "What do I do?" I say Quincy Jones here, and they're like, "No, they had a different name."
Right.
So I had to wait for him to come down. He puts me in a limousine.
Wow.
And the conversation in the limousine, I'll never forget this. This is January of '96. All right, he was the guy, editor of Vibe magazine. So he's talking to the guy at Vibe magazine. He goes, "I'm going to put those two motherfuckers on the cover," but he goes, "I'm telling you right now, they're into some serious shit, and both of those motherfuckers are going to end up dead. They're going to kill each other." And it was Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur.
Wow.
So they ended up on the cover.
Together.
Yeah, or one of them was on it, and Quincy Jones was saying to a guy, he goes, listen, they're out of control and they're ridiculous, and the two motherfuckers are going to end up killing each other.
Wow. Wow.
And I went back and I told Orlando that, who had directed some rap videos. He was a big Biggie Smalls guy. That's how I knew about him. And he goes, yeah, apparently that gangster stuff is that they're out of control with that, with shooting and stuff, and fucking 8 months later, Tupac was dead, and then
wow, that's weird.
You know, it was just like I'll never forget
Quincy.
that.
No, Quincy's like
he's tied in.
He should do police work.
He just seems like a real smart guy, you know. And I mean, look, the guy helped save me. You know, it's just
he was good to you.
It's an interesting story,
Yeah,
and he was good to me the way you've been good to me, and a lot.
So that's what Lisa's talking about. That's the that's her big chapter. Look at you, Lisa. Good
now I don't
reporting.
have to read it.
When I say Guardian Angels, I'm talking about you and Quincy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be in that group.
But it's weird you brought that up where I think I'm dead and in heaven, because I've told that to a shrink, and they go, stop being ridiculous.
It's not so crazy.
Well, they don't want to tell you they're dead, too.
If it was really heaven.
We're all dead.
But if it was really heaven, wouldn't I be thinner?
No, because you're trying to keep it real.
Heaven. Why would you waste your time being thin in heaven?
Hey, you saw Saving Your Life. You get to eat anything you want.
Yeah, and not get heavy.
Lisa, excellent report. Now, do you have anything else?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah. What else? Anything?
Wow. Well, we'll have interviews with Stacey all day long, so you can listen to that. And part of the reason people always say to her, why don't you just let go of your brother?
Oh.
Then there'd be no fun.
She said,
who's going to pay for the shore house?
Oh, stop it.
People say that she's not having her own life because she's so concerned about Artie.
No, don't lay that on
I don't.
Did she say that?
She said people say that to her, that she needs to let go.
My sister doesn't lay anything. I mean, she's my sister is someone else who saved my life. I have no problem with my sister. And the thing is, you know, her.
Do you think that's true though? That she's concerned about you?
I'm worried
not
about
having
it.
a life.
I worry about it. Sure, absolutely, I worry about it. That's why I paid for all their shit.
Right. It's a good deal.
I throw money at situations.
Throw some money my way. I'll worry about it.
By the way, you know how touching that.
We're worried about you too, Artie.
You know how touching that story is. You know, it's supposed to, that's where the movie should end, and you live happy ever after. But then, unfortunately, in real life, you got to live real life. But 8 months later, I was in jail for possession of coke, and then they let me go.
Well, that's what I'm
that's why
thinking to myself.
Mad TV let you go because you went back to coke.
I went back. I fell off the wagon again, and I got arrested this time. And
Right.
then,
Remember the fight with the cops and everything.
yeah. That was next year.
Boy, that's incredibly self-destructive.
Yeah, it is.
After all those
that's a good
people
gig.
pitched in for you. Now, did Quincy come and say, "Man, you're an idiot"?
No, he did. Look, they were. Look.
This is probably. I let this guy on my plane.
It's funny. Quincy Jones has a memoir out now too, and the same. And the guy at Barnes & Noble, I signed the book to Quincy Jones. I said, you probably don't remember me, but you helped save my life once.
Hey, Mel, you're on the air in New York City.
Hey, now, Howard. Hey, what's up, Artie? Listen, so there was no shotgun, there was no noose, there was nothing, no balcony.
No.
Other than that, it sounds like a pretty good time, man.
He can still answer the door.
Artie's suicide sounds like a party.
I mean, listen, I know that last hit of coke is, that's the worst one, but shit, you had your pills, man. You were good to go.
You know what happened was what they did in the emergency room was they pumped my stomach, and to save your liver, they make you drink this black tar stuff, and it supposedly blocks your liver and protects it or something. But it's the most grotesque stuff. It's real thick. It looks like tar.
Oh.
So when they were putting the catheter in me, there was a nurse that kept saying to me, "You can't go to sleep. You have to drink this." So I kept drinking it, and I looked like I was on a minstrel show. It was all over me, and
it's actually supposed to be charcoal. I think they put.
That's what it is.
It's charcoal.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. But it was like melted, and it looked black. And
hey, Marianne from Brooklyn's on the phone.
Howard, I love Artie's book. I loved your forward, Artie, and I getting a deeper feeling of how you really are. But I'm saying to myself, when your father went through all that turmoil, being so sick, how could you jeopardize your life and not want to live and do those things to you when you know how sad it is to be sick, Artie? But I love your book, Artie.
All right, thank you, Marianne. That's too
well,
many
listen,
questions. We all ask the same question.
Those questions are very logical. I wish I knew these.
Lisa G, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I also spoke to David Herman, who saved Artie's life. So we'll have
50
that
guys
too.
who all saved Artie's life.
I know.
Get in line.
It took a committee.
David, by the way, after Mad TV went on he's in that great movie Office Space. He plays a guy called Michael Bolton in Office Space.
Oh, Michael Bolton, is that who that is?
Yeah, he's a real talented guy.
All right, thank you,
All right.
Lisa G.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Lisa G, hard on
The whole Artie, it's Artie news all day today.
I thought the big story was Lisa G won't get breast implants.
Artie, was that hard talking about today?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Lisa.
It's in your book.
I cried once after a Little League game. You want to bring that up? No, I didn't. Yeah, I knew I'd have to talk about it eventually, so that was it. I guess, yeah. So it's done now.
Artie, what other types of really shocking stories, or in what vein? I mean, does it get more depressing and realistic than that story in your book?
I thought at one point my sister had gone out on a date with a black guy, but then that turned out not to be the case. If that had happened, that might have been the worst, but that didn't happen. But the week that I thought it was awful.
Had it really materialized?
No, thank God. The guy was Cuban.
No, but really, Artie, how often do you think existentially about what happened to you?
Existentially? You got a little Woody Allen over here.
Well, I mean, you really thought you were in ways this could be happening.
That I went through that, yeah. Because, you go through psychotic, crazy theories. I said to myself, wow, what if that's the case,
But given all the great things that have happened to you since that, really bad time in your life, do you ever reconsider it that maybe in some weird, twisted way this is an afterlife?
No, because if this was heaven, Mariano Rivera would never have fucking made that shitty throw to second base in Game 7 of the 2001 World Series.
You're right.
Exactly. All right?
All right.
Take that.
Go pick up Too Fat to Fish.
Exactly. Too fat to fish.
I bet your sales just went up.
They did, Lisa. All right, I'll give you. All right.
I'm telling you, sales just went up.
Lisa wants to.
It's a good story, right? It's hard to read.
You want implant money, don't you?
I don't. I like my breasts.
Me too.
Yeah.
I do. Is that
Everyone else doesn't, but I don't care.